Today, we take you back to 1860, to a case that scandalized Victorian England and exposed the dark secrets lurking behind closed doors. A murder at Road Hill House. A case filled with deception, intrigue, and a confession that left more questions than answers. Before we begin, a brief disclaimer. This episode contains descriptions of violence and sensitive topics. Listener discretion is advised. Samuel Saville Kent, an inspector of factories, lived at Road Hill House with his second wife, Mary Drew Pratt, and their children. But this was a blended family, one marked by tension and whispers of scandal. Samuel's first wife, Mary Ann Windus, had died under suspicious circumstances in 1852, and just over a year later, he married the children's governess, Mary Pratt, fueling rumors of an affair before his first wife's death. By 1860, the Kent household was a mix of children from both marriages. Among them was Constance Kent, a 16-year-old girl deeply resentful of her stepmother. Her older sisters, Mary Ann and Elizabeth, were also part of the household, having grown up witnessing their father's tumultuous relationship with their late mother. William Kent, Constance's younger brother, was 14 at the time and had a close bond with his sister. The younger children from Samuel's second marriage, Mary Amelia, Eveline, and Ackland Saville, were still quite young. Each child in the household played a role in the complex family dynamics. On the morning of June 30th, 1860, the family's tranquility was shattered when 3-year-old Francis Saville Kent was discovered missing. Hours later, his tiny body was found stuffed into the vault of an outhouse, his throat slashed to the spine and a deep stab wound to his side. The brutal nature of the crime shocked the entire country. The night of June 29th, 1860, seemed unremarkable. The household went to sleep as usual. The next morning, Elizabeth Goff noticed that Francis was missing from his cot. At first, she assumed his mother had taken him, but panic set in when he could not be found. A search of the property led to a gruesome discovery. Francis's lifeless body in the outdoor privy, wrapped in his blanket, his throat cut. The lack of forced entry suggested the killer was someone within the house. As the investigation unfolded, the once peaceful village of Road was thrown into chaos, and all eyes turned to the Kent household. The family was immediately thrust under scrutiny. Samuel and Mary Kent, along with Francis's older half-siblings, became the subject of intense suspicion. But the question lingered. Why would a member of the household commit such an unimaginable act? As the investigation progressed, attention shifted to the household staff, with particular focus on Elizabeth Goff, the nursemaid who had been entrusted with Francis's care. It was she who had put him to bed the night before, and her role in the child's final moments made her an obvious person of interest. Yet, the question remained. What motive could someone so trusted have for such a dreadful crime? Soon, suspicion turned to Constance Kent. A key piece of evidence was a missing nightdress. One of Constance's was never found. Authorities believed she had used it during the crime and later destroyed it. The local police were overwhelmed, leading to the arrival of Scotland Yard's top detective, Inspector Jonathan Witcher. Inspector Witcher, a pioneer in detective work, quickly honed in on Constance Kent. He believed she had waited until the house was asleep, taken Francis from his cot, and murdered him in the privy. However, his investigation was met with resistance. The wealthy Kent family, the magistrates, and even the press scorned his accusations, believing it inconceivable that a young woman of her status could commit such an atrocity. Without solid evidence, Witcher was forced to release Constance, and his reputation suffered. For years, the case remained unsolved. Then, in 1865, Constance, now living in a religious institution, made a shocking confession to Reverend Arthur Wagner. She admitted to the murder, claiming she had acted alone, driven by resentment toward her stepmother. But doubts lingered. Was she protecting someone? Her brother William was also suspected of involvement, though never charged. Constance was sentenced to death, but Queen Victoria commuted her sentence to life in prison. She served 20 years before being released in 1885. The Road Hill House murder was more than just a crime. It was a scandal that exposed class biases, police incompetence, and the rigid moral codes of Victorian society. But even after Constance's confession, questions remained. Many believed that her confession had been coerced, possibly by Reverend Wagner, who had strong religious influence over her. Others speculated that she was covering for her brother William, who had been home from school at the time of the murder and had a close relationship with Constance. Some theorists even suggested that Samuel Kent himself, the patriarch of the family, may have played a role in either covering up the crime or manipulating Constance into taking the blame. After her release, Constance left England and reinvented herself in Australia, becoming a respected nurse under a new name, Emily Kay. She lived to the age of 100, but even in her final years, she never fully revealed the truth about that fateful night. Was she a cold-blooded child killer, or a victim of Victorian societal pressures and a deeply dysfunctional family? The Road Hill House murder remains one of the most debated cases in true crime history. It not only shaped early detective work, but also influenced literature, inspiring characters like Charles Dickens' Inspector Bucket from Bleak House and later crime fiction. This case forces us to question the nature of justice. Did Constance really act alone, or was she a scapegoat for a much darker family secret? Today, Road Hill House, now known as Langham House, still stands in the quiet village of Road, Wiltshire. Though it remains a private residence, its dark past continues to intrigue true crime enthusiasts and historians alike. Over the years, the house has changed hands multiple times, with various owners renovating and modernizing the property while preserving its historic character. Despite its picturesque appearance, the chilling events of 1860 linger in public memory, making it one of England's most infamous crime scenes. Unlike the tumultuous years following the murder, the house now serves as a peaceful family home, far removed from the scrutiny and scandal that once surrounded it. While no public tours or official historical markers commemorate the tragic events, Road Hill House remains a site of deep fascination. Some believe the house still carries the echoes of its troubled past, while others see it simply as an old estate with a once notorious history, now reclaimed by time and new occupants. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more content. If you have any thoughts or theories on the case, or suggestions for future stories, drop them in the comments below.